Hello. What is trespassing? Recently, in a conversation, the topic of trespassing entered the discussion. And during this conversation, I noticed the first item for consideration was the possible presence of cameras protecting the property and therefore the inevitableness of getting caught. Other factors were considered, but all of them were in reference to avoiding getting caught. Although the conversation ended with the individual deciding against the act, I watched and wonder as our mind nonchalantly presented an endeavor with a high risk of consequences. And then the discernment of this higher consciousness patiently and gently refusing the offer. Let's flesh this out. Trespassing is normally isolated to an act of entering land or property not owned without permission. But the second definition of trespass, rarely considered, is to think or act against or violate another person's standards. And even more rarely considered is the other person is ourself. Trespassing is never about breaking federal, state, or local laws. Trespassing is only ever about breaking the law of who you are. It's about negotiating who you are. Brene Brown talks about that too. You can find her on YouTube and listen to some of her work on negotiating who you are. It's very good. In the case of trespassing on property, consider the perspective of not will I get caught, but rather what level of respect do I have for myself that I would allow me to put me in such a precarious situation? And where did this complete lack of self-respect come from? The willingness to trespass or break a law originates from the fear of separateness, a lack of safety and belonging. Separateness says there's a me and you, mine, yours, its, hers, and his. To make separate seem real, humans establish ownership through the language of laws, contracts, permits, or titles. These proofs of ownership confess safety, caught me. These proofs of ownership profess safety and stability as only available outside the self and only available in material form. But in truth, these claims only perpetuate the fear of loss, of lack, because they can't be had through materialism. They can only be had inside. They can only be had in the being of self. In the case of trespassing, the innate understanding of self being one with all is misunderstood by the ego as a state of being that it's only experienced through the physical state. So we see a part of ourself in the environment around us, and we're drawn to connect with the experience of oneness by walking through nature or engaging in a conversation with another person, regardless of the state of ownership. We don't say, for example, I can't talk to my friend because my friend is owned or married to someone else or in a relationship with someone else. So I can no longer have a connection with that person. Being one with nature and being one with another person or with people, with our lives, is a pleasurable experience. Pleasure is driven by desire and is often confused with respect. So, to go back to the question, what level of respect do I have for myself that I would allow me to put me in such a precarious situation? Anytime we're willing to compromise our livelihood, we trespass on ourselves. We do not respect ourselves. We ignore the innate power within all of us that knows we are already one and connected by saying that we're lying. You have to prove it. You have to walk on someone else's property. You have to own this and own that. That the existence of being able to just be in the presence of the trees or the people or the experience is enough. So we trespass on the property and we maybe get away with walking on the property, but once we leave, the feeling of lack returns because self-respect is the recognition of being enough. And when we ignore that self-respect, we ignore being enough. That brings us to the next question of where did this lack of self-respect come from? Infinite causes contribute to a lack of self-respect, just like infinite causes are everywhere. There's never one definable cause. But trust is a common thread. To trust that you are enough is the developing and nurturing of self-respect. To develop self-respect, rely on the understanding that you are already enough. To do that, you disregard the need to be affirmed. Please give me credit. Disregard that thought. For example, when you see a private property sign, look at the entire landscape instead and be immersed in the experience of the skills of vision that take in an entire image without boundaries. And I can see each and every tree, grass, shrub, rock, stump, bush, insect, birds, animals, and I can have that image for a lifetime. No one can take that image from me, and no one can take that image from you. And even if so let's say you did own the property, the trees and the birds would still die. But they're alive in your mind's eye. And you can trust that that is all you need, that you have the capacity with which to experience that. The only person that needs to affirm you is you. And you affirm you by saying, oh, look what I can do. I have this power of being one. Self-respect is recognizing your worth and its very existence. And it's not stipulated or value-based on material possessions. This doesn't mean you don't own stuff, you don't have things. I'll cover that in a minute. But to have self-respect and to practice recognition of your worth, show gratitude for all that you are that contributes to the safety and health of your body, your mind, and your spirit, like breathing. The use of those skills make you reliable to you. You can rely on your body to breathe. And that is a very nice, safe skill that your body does for you. It's for you, through you, in you, of you. This is yourself acting with self-respect in the interest and well-being of your body, mind, and self. When we respect ourselves, we experience trust, and trust is knowing that we are always enough and that we always have the power within us to do the things that benefit us, like breathing. We are all the source of all, and the power needed to live a full life. So the next time you second guess yourself and are wondering if the decisions or the choices trespass on your sense of self, ask not if the camera is watching you, but rather, are you watching you? Thank you for watching. May this bring some insight into your life. From the Seeker and the Sage, namaste, like and subscribe. Bye.